empezar con el pretérito. Entonces, tienes 3 minutos. 3 minutos. ¿Quieren?
等一下吧。
Número 1, Parker. Hablo, yo hablo. Número 2, Ben.
I said fuimos.
Fuimos. Número 3, Tucker.
Estuvieron.
Estuvieron. Número 4, Becca. Compartieron. Bien. Número 5, Patty. Caminamos. Y la última, Payne.
Almuerciste.
Almorzaste, and that would be tú, right? So, what would be
Benjamin.
Benjamin is he?
Oh, we're talking about.
Look at your notes. Almorzar is sacar, garzar. You can look at your booklet.
Oh,
¿Almorzó? Yep. El almorzó. Bien. Ok, entonces, hoy día vamos a comenzar con el imperfecto, ¿verdad? En español hay dos formas, hay dos tiempos, ¿verdad? Para hablar en el pasado. Two tenses to speak in the past. You have the preterite, ¿verdad? The preterite, and you also have the imperfect. Okay? So we already went over the preterite. The preterite is mainly to talk about actions you've done in the past that have a definite starting point and a definite ending point, right? But the imperfect, we're gonna go over the uses of the imperfect. So I'm gonna give you your notes for that. Okay. Oh, I don't think any of them got one yet. Okay. Okay, so one of your, right, the first one that you got there is the imperfect tense forms, right? So it tells you when you will use imperfect and the endings, right? So you have for your AR endings, aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban. We're not gonna use the abais, right? Because that's the vosotros form. And then you have your ER and IR verbs endings. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, ia. Okay, so those are your endings for your regular imperfect verbs, right? Now you also have irregular imperfect forms, but you don't have as many irregular verbs like you do in the preterite. So you only have 3 imperfect forms. You have ir, ser, y ver. Those are your 3 irregular forms for the imperfect, okay? Now, the other one you received, the other handout you received tells you words that are suggestion for use in the preterite tense. So these are words, like the ones on the top are words that you will use if you're using the preterite, right? So anoche o ayer fui, anteayer pescamos, o hace una semana fuimos, right? So for this, the ones, if you're using the ones on top, you're gonna use the preterite. Now, if you're using the ones on the bottom, these are words that will go with the imperfect, okay? For example, mientras yo veía la televisión while I was watching the TV, right? Siempre, always, generalmente, in general, normalmente, normally, usualmente, usually, a veces, sometimes, con frecuencia o frecuentemente, often, frequently, de vez en cuando, once in a while, todos los días, every day, something that you did always in the past, right? It wasn't an action that had a beginning and an ending. It was something that you did several times in the past, repeatedly. So then you have todos los lunes, todos los martes, todas las semanas, todos los meses, todos los años, todo el tiempo en aquel tiempo. Okay, so those are words that will trigger the imperfect or the preterite. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys PowerPoint. Okay, so these are the preterite versus imperfect. So this is just a review because the preterite, you already know it is used for completed actions, right? So actions that have a definite beginning and end points. These actions can be viewed as single events, actions that were part of a chain of events, right? Or actions that were repeated a very specific number of times. Or actions that specifically state the beginning and the end of an action. So that's when you're gonna use the preterite. For example, fui al partido de fútbol anoche. I went to the soccer game last night. I went to the soccer game last night. So you have a beginning and an ending for that action, right? Te llamó 3 veces. He called you or she called you 3 times. Hablé con mi madre de las 2 a las 3. I spoke with my mother from 2 to 3. Okay, so those are actions or verbs that will use the preterite, right? So those are the same words you have in your list of words that will trigger the preterite. So ayer, anteayer, anoche, la semana pasada, hace una semana, el año pasado, una vez, de repente, en ese momento. Okay, so there you have your same examples. Caminé al mercado, compré unos plátanos y regresé a casa. So you're listing certain actions you did, right? That change. The imperfect. So that's what we're learning today. The imperfect tense is generally used for actions in the past that do not have a definite end. Okay? These can be actions that are not yet completed or refer to a time in general in the past. So you don't have an ending. There's no ending to that action, right? It can also be used to talk about actions that were repeated, right? Daily or habitualmente, ¿verdad? Actions that set the stage for another past tense, times and dates, right? In the past, so you're gonna say, eran las 5 de la mañana. It was 5 in the morning cuando me caí de la cama, okay? Or era el 25 de octubre. It was October 25th, right? You cannot say fue October el 25 de octubre. You're gonna say era el 25 de octubre, okay? Then you have a person's age in the past, okay? So él tenía. You're not gonna say él tuvo or él, right? You're gonna say él tenía. So you're gonna use your imperfect. Él tenía 15 años cuando conoció a su hermana. He was 15 years old when he met his sister. Okay? Then you have characteristics. Okay? Él era tímido. He was shy. Él era inteligente or él era rápido, right? So you're just giving characteristics about that person or thing or any noun, right? And then you have mental or physical states. So estaba cansado, I was tired. Estaba enfermo, I was, right, sick. So that's for that. And then you have your trigger words. Okay? There you have a few examples. Cuando era niña, when I was a girl, jugaba con muñecas. So this is an action that you used to do frequently when you were a girl. So if you did it frequently, then you're gonna use your imperfect, right? Now if you played with your doll once in your childhood, then you will say jugué con la muñeca that day, that time, right? And you're gonna use the preterite. But if it's an action that you were doing habitually, like frequently, right? Then you're gonna use the imperfect, okay? Los chicos hablaban en español. The boys were speaking in Spanish. Estaba durmiendo cuando el teléfono sonó. I was sleeping when something happened. The phone rang. So if you're saying that the action was interrupted by something, by another action, then that second action will be in the preterite. Sonó. Okay? Then you have cuando tenía 3 años, when I was 3 years old, era muy pequeño. I was very little, very young. Okay? Okay, so these are a few sentences in English. So can you tell me what will you use? Will you use the preterite or will you use the imperfect? Okay? So for number 1, it says Alejandra did her homework. Hartley. Preterite? Yes, preterite. Number 2, yesterday I went to the park with my friends. Julian. This one is telling you that I went. So I mean, it was yesterday. You know the exact time when you did it. So what would you think? Preterite. Because it's telling you that it was yesterday, right? It's not like you were doing it for the whole week or the whole month or your whole childhood. You just went yesterday. Okay, so it will be the preterite. Number 3, last year while I was walking to the park, okay, I saw Chris fall out of a tree. So the first part, while I was walking to the park, imperfect. So the first part is imperfect. So it will be while, mientras estaba caminando al parque. While is one of your words, right? So mientras estaba caminando al parque, I saw Chris fall out of the tree. So the second part, pain. So we know the first part, while I was walking to the park, is imperfect. I saw Chris fall out of a tree. So he fell in a certain time, right? It will not be the imperfect.
That means
Preterite. Yes, the preterite. Tucker, number 4, it was 10 o'clock. You said? It was 10 o'clock, so if it's time or date in the past, you're gonna use imperfect. Again, it was windy out. It was windy. Jameson, number 5. Imperfect. Number 6, Carla was doing homework when the teacher entered the room. So this is a ongoing action that's being interrupted by something that happened, right? So the first part, Carla was doing homework. Emma? You said preterite. If it's not telling you Carla did her homework on a certain, did her homework yesterday, right? It's telling you was doing homework. Imperfect. When she was doing her homework, when the teacher entered. And that enter will be in the preterite. Okay? Cuando la profesora entró a la clase. Okay? Then you have when Mariah was 8, she loved to roller skate. Patty, what do you think? For number 8.
Number 8.
When Mariah was 8, so this is telling you that when she was 8, she used to love, she didn't do it once. Imperfect, because she used to do it frequently, right? That this was something that she loved to do, so she was doing it all the time. And number 9, when Mel was a kid, she did her homework every day. Parker? Imperfect. And then the second part, she did her homework every day.
That part. I guess that.
Preterite. And then the third part, but she did not do her homework. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So it's when Mel was a kid, so cuando era una niña, ¿verdad? So that's imperfect. She did her homework every day. Hacía su tarea todos los días, so it is also the imperfect. Yeah. And then it says, but she did not do her homework yesterday night.
Oh,
That's the preterite, right? That's the preterite. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a video.
A un reviso.
Un repaso.
Venimos a un reviso sobre las diferencias entre el pretérito y el imperfecto. El pretérito o preterite en inglés expresa una acción en el pasado. The preterite tense is used to express a past action with a definite beginning and a definite end. El imperfecto o imperfect también expresa una acción en el pasado. The imperfect tense is used to express an ongoing past action. Por ejemplo, if I ate at 12 o'clock, I would say, yo comí a las 12. This is a preterite action with a definite beginning and a definite end. If I want to tell you that I used to eat pizza when I was a little girl, I would say, yo comía pizza cuando era niña. This is an imperfect expression because it was ongoing. Otro ejemplo. I lived in Ohio for 2 years. Because this is a past action with a definite beginning and a definite end, I'm going to choose the preterite. Yo viví en Ohio por 2 años. But if I want to tell you that I just lived in Ohio, that is an ongoing past action, so I'll choose imperfect. Yo vivía en Ohio. Vamos a ver el último ejemplo. If I want to tell you that when I was little I played with blocks, I would be expressing an ongoing past action. Therefore, I would choose imperfect. Cuando yo era niña, yo jugaba con bloques. But what if I played baseball yesterday? Yesterday would indicate a definite beginning and a definite end. Therefore, I would choose preterite. Ayer jugué béisbol. Y eso termina nuestro reviso sobre las diferencias entre el pretérito y el imperfecto. Gracias por haber prestado atención. Adiós.
Preguntas.
So she said, for the Ohio one, she said, I lived in Ohio 2 years ago.
Ajá.
And she decided to use imperfect there because it was ongoing, I guess. But when she did, I played baseball yesterday with the preterite. So, like, what's the difference there?
Let me, I don't remember the examples.
Bienvenidos a un reviso sobre las diferencias entre el pretérito y el imperfecto. A las 12. This is a preterite action with a definite beginning and a definite end. If I want to tell you that I used to eat pizza when I was a little girl, I would say, yo comía pizza cuando era niña. This is an imperfect expression because it was ongoing. Otro ejemplo. I lived in Ohio for 2 years. Because this is,
So that's exactly telling you when or how long she lived in Ohio. I guess so. Then you will say yo viví en Ohio por 2 años, right? Let's look at the next one.
this is a past action with a definite beginning and a definite end. I'm going to choose the preterite. Yo viví en Ohio por 2 años. But if I want to tell you that I just lived in Ohio,
If you're just gonna say you just lived, right? Yo vivía en Ohio. You vivía en Greensboro, but it's not telling you for how long you stay there. Okay? And what's the other one? The one with the
vamos a ver el último ejemplo. If I want to tell you that when I was little I played with blocks, I would be expressing an ongoing past action. Therefore, I would choose imperfect. Cuando yo era niña, yo jugaba con bloques. But what if I played baseball yesterday? Yesterday would indicate a definite beginning and a definite end. Therefore, I would choose preterite.
So same thing, so if you just say, oh, I played baseball, you're right, I played baseball when I was a kid. So then you will say, yo jugaba baseball cuando era niño. But if you're telling me exactly when you played baseball, so 2 years ago, then it will be yo jugué baseball por 2 años, okay? Okay. Let's see. So if you're telling H, what will you use? If you're telling H in the past,
Perfect.
imperfect. This is going really slow. Okay, so we said telling H, imperfect. Number 2, pain. Telling Tom, what are you gonna use?
That would be ongoing, so imperfect.
So it's the imperfect. Bien. Número 3, weather. Julian. Imperfect. Description. Hartley. De pequeño. Parker. What's de pequeño? When I was little. De
Okay.
pequeño. ¿Ah?
Imperfect.
Mientras. Mientras. Jackson,
What does that mean?
look at your notes. It's in
Oh.
your words.
It would be imperfect.
Imperfect. While. Cuando era niño. Cuando era niño. Jameson. When I was a kid. Imperfect. Siempre. It's in your words too, so you can look at your Jackson.
Imperfect.
Perfect. Nunca. Is that one in your words? Imperfect. That's telling you never. Los lunes, los martes, on Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays. It's not telling you just one Wednesday, one Monday, that specific Monday, that specific Wednesday. It's telling you every Monday, right? On Mondays, on Tuesdays. Todos los day, month, season. So it's imperfect. Yep, so that means every day, every month, every season. I used to do this, or I did this, or I do this, right? Ongoing, but interrupted action. So if it's an ongoing, right, it's an ongoing, that will be the imperfect. But then if you have something that happened that interrupted that ongoing action, what would that be? Preterite. So the interrupting action is the completed action, preterite. Repeated action, imperfect, yes. Yeah, something that you do every, right? Ayer. What would that be? Pain.
Yes. Yes.
What would that be?
Yesterday?
Yes, that's yesterday.
So that would be perfect.
No.
I mean perfect. Sorry.
Preterite. Okay. Anoche. Anoche,
Preterite.
preterite. El lunes pasado. El martes pasado. El miércoles pasado. Parker, preterite. We'll just skip that. Skip that. Anteayer. That's the day before yesterday. Preterite. La semana pasada, el mes pasado. Hartley, preterite. Okay. A veces. That's in your words. Jackson, what do you have there? A veces.
Imperfect.
Muchas veces. A menudo. That's frequently. ¿Verdad? En a menudo, ¿qué es a menudo? O en a menudo. Jackson.
Imperfect.
Used to. I used to do something. Jeff. And then we have una vez, a sequence of events. If you're talking about a sequence of events. Vega. Preterite. Yep. Well, I'm not gonna go over this right now. So here it's cuando plus the action. Cuando, that will be preterite. Cuando salté, when I jumped. Cuando corrí, when I ran. And then setting the scene, imperfect. And then conocer, met, preterite. Okay. Entonces, ¿tienes preguntas? ¿Tienes preguntas? Preguntas? Questions? Well, if you have questions along the way, please raise your hand. We're gonna work on this. If you have questions about vocabulary while answering this, please let me know.
Are we doing this solo?
You're doing this. What?
Like, are we doing this by ourselves?
Yeah, solo? Yes. Solo. And then we'll correct. Okay, so if you have questions, so it says preterite imperfect, right? So you're gonna have to decide, by reading the story, you're gonna have to decide whether you will use preterite or imperfect. So these paragraphs narrate, or the paragraph below narrates a fictitious skiing experience. Select the tense, preterite or imperfect, according to the context of the story, okay? So, 15 minutes. If you have questions about vocabulary, please raise your hand. If you need help with anything, please raise your hand, levanta la mano.
Are we gonna, check it out?
Yes, but you still need to work on it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you want us to write preterite or imperfect at all?
No, you're conjugating it.
Yeah, but like.
You don't have to write it.
Okay.
No. Desde
means from.
well, it means since from, but in this text will be desde. What is it? From or since. If you're talking about a date. Let's see, we're saying from the train